Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Transition Bridge podcast. This is Debi Ronca, your host, and I'm also your personal life transition coach. This is the podcast that we come in each and every week so we can discover together the purpose and the power of transitions. And I know we ask ourselves, why do we even need transitions and what are the benefits of them? Well, I would just briefly share with you we need transitions because we need growth, both personally and professionally. And what happens is when change comes, we feel uncomfortable. But it's the challenge to accept that change. And when we do, we ultimately will experience transformation. That's the power of transition. Well, in today's episode, we're going to hear how the challenge of a health issue that my guest Cindy Ruzika and her husband Dion walked and faced together that ultimately brought them to a place of new discovery, healing, and transformation. Dion and Cindy's love story is really one of resilience and shared purpose. When Dion was diagnosed with lymphatic leukemia, the couple united to find a path to healing. And at his weakest times, Dion dreamed of ice baths. And it was a vision that they both turned into action. Choosing natural healing over traditional treatments, they discovered the transformative power of deliberate cold exposure. And within months, Dion defied expectations, regaining his health and vitality without medication. Their journey also transformed Cindy, helping her overcome addiction and anxiety while unlocking newfound joy and energy. Together, they have turned their personal transformation into a shared mission. And a year ago, they founded the Loyly Sauna Salon, the Loyly Sauna Lounge here in Houston to share their love of healing, inspiration, that drove them to guide others on their wellness journey and contribute to the growing social wellness movement. Well, Cindy, thank you so much and welcome to the Transition Bridge podcast.
Hi, Debbie. Good to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, of course. And Cindy and I, so my audience will know, we have been very special friends for many, many years. And so it's kind of surreal that we're both sitting here on a podcast together. But when I heard what Cindy and Dion went through together and what they discovered as a result of, I just thought this was a journey, this was a story that you, my audience, would love to hear more about. And so I know, Cindy, people struggle all over the world with health issues, and it just seemed like you and Dion tapped into something that made a difference. So, why don't you just briefly take us back to that time when you discovered that Dion did have lymphatic leukemia?
Well, we didn't really know what was going on with him. We had gotten married in August of 22, and by December of 22, he was really sick. He
Mm.
had lost about 30 pounds, was out of gas. He'd had some dental work, like a root canal that had gone bad, and he was just completely I'll just say dying before my eyes. He was
Oh,
really, really sick. His lymph nodes were always swollen. We'd gone to all different types of specialists, just could not figure out what was going on. And all the things that we had planned for our lives together, because now I finally had this person who I just had this amazing love story with. And all those things were coming to a close. It was just so heartbreakingly tragic. And Christmas morning of 22, he wakes up with this dream that he's supposed to take really cold baths. And he tells me, and I think, well, that sounds awful. Like hot baths sound a lot better, right?
yes.
I've never heard of such a thing, but and just in my mind, I thought, okay, well, if you do, I do, and just, let it go at that. And about 3 weeks later, we finally had his lymph nodes biopsied, and we found out it wasn't his teeth at all. It was because he had lymphatic leukemia, which is an autoimmune disease, which we really think kind of got started with what was happening with his mouth because his immune system was so taxed. So at any rate, we got that news on a Thursday. And Monday, they wanted to start him on a very aggressive treatment plan of chemo, radiation, prepping him for a bone marrow transplant. And he was nearly almost dead, like, already. So that weekend, we just Googled anybody that had cured themselves naturally. And we found this really curious Dutch guy named Wim Hof. I don't know if you know, if you're familiar with him. I wasn't, we weren't. But he's also known as the Iceman.
Yes.
And obviously he takes really cold baths. And so that just like piqued our attention and imagination. And we really felt like, okay, maybe this is a sign, this is a gift. Like, what else could this be? And so we just watched every video he's ever made. And we watched his one particular documentary over and over again, where he had been injected with E. coli and didn't get sick because he was able to control his nervous system and his physiology with his mind, with his breath, mindset, and he used cold water. And then, the doctors thought, oh, he's just like a freak, right?
Right.
Like he's an unusual anomaly. And he's like, no, anybody can learn this. And so he was like, let's do this again. And I'll train 12 people and let's do this experiment again. And so that's what they did. So they had 100 untrained people by Wim Hof. And I don't even know how they found these people who wants to get injected with E. coli? Like, I don't. But anyway.
Me either.
Right? That sounds awful. But so they did the same experiment on 100 untrained, 12 that he had trained, and same thing. And the 12 that he had trained for 4 days did not get sick. And the 100 did. And so this really spoke to us. And so we started doing this immediately. And I had no idea when that happened, like the path that opened up, because we had a choice. Our choice was chemo or cold water. And that was a big crossroads. And there's a lot of that. The chemo path it's not an easy path, but that's the most recognizable path for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the path that felt right for us. So really, I'm so grateful that we leaned in to something that was unexpected and listened to our hearts and honestly listened to Dion's dream and intuition and gave something else a chance. Like, everybody has to do what's right for them, but that seemed like the most right path for us. So we started this in January of 23. We started doing this thing called contrast therapy, which is contrasting really cold water with really hot sauna. And we had found a place to do it that was far from our home, but we were doing it every day because I did it first, just because I desperately wanted Dion to get better. And so we did it first, and then we started doing it together. And then we did it together every day. And this place was far from our home. It was across town. And so it'd take about an hour to get there, and it was about an hour process and about an hour to get back. And so, like, doing this every day and having wet towels in my car was not sustainable. And then we live in a high rise, and fortunately a place so we couldn't do it at home. So we tried doing ice baths in our bathtub with a freezer full of ice. We're like freezing water in every container that we had, right? And it doesn't go very far. And so then fortunately a place opened right across the street from where we live. And we thought, oh, great, we'll start going there. And we did. But the thing is, their water wasn't cold enough. Their saunas were great and hot. It was beautiful. It's, gorgeous space, but the water wasn't cold enough. And he started to get sick again. Oh, and so then it dawned on us that it was the temperature of the water. It was that it was the resonancy and the frequency of the really cold water between 41 and 49 degrees. That is like the sweet spot. And so what happened is that he bought 2 plunge tubs on his way to work and was like, babe, if it worked for us, it'll work for everybody, right? And so that's how Loyly came to be. It was not planned. He's a metallurgist. I'm an interior designer. We were doing other things, but as the time that we were doing this, Debbie, like, he got better. He got a lot better. So we had been doing this for several months now. When we jumped into doing this for ourselves, we bought the tubs and we started a business within literally 4 days. We've been doing this for months. And what was happening is that when you tax your body with extremes, like extreme cold, extreme heat, that builds new mitochondria. And you probably remember mitochondria is like the energy in our cells, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
all we are is energy. And when that energy is fortified and our body gets the green light to do what the body can do, big things happen. Healing happens, like amazing healing. So when he was sick, he had lost about 30 pounds. Now he had gained his weight back. He had gained his strength back. Like he was like full of vitality and vigor, and like all these great things were happening for him. The other thing that exposing yourself to something difficult, like a stressor, like controlled stressor, like again, like cold water and hot temperature, it grows a part in our brain. It's called the mid-cingulate cortex.
Okay.
And it's the part of our brain that gets bigger. It's just like a muscle. So when we tax it, when we give it a hard task, it gets stronger. And what that strength does is that it builds resiliency and tenacity. So it doesn't really matter if it's the stressor is cold water, or if it's a difficult situation or a disappointing experience. The hard doesn't matter. You become fortified. As a human, we become fortified. We get stronger. And add on top of that, when you do cold water, it takes your breath away. So when you get in really cold water, you'll have this, like this thing, right? Because it
Yes.
takes your breath away. It's cold. Like I do this every day, and it's cold every time, every day. Well, just when you do that, the mere task of doing something hard grows that part of our brain. Okay, that's one. The second thing is that you have to breathe. To manage cold water, you've got to breathe steady, slow, intentional breaths. And I'm a super type A person. In my design job, I always have to have a plan, but not just a plan, like an ABCDFG plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's about a million moving parts, and I'm running several jobs at the same time. And I've got to be able to see, like, anticipate what can go wrong. And oftentimes things go wrong. They don't go as planned. And so being able to see around the curve and having to be able to anticipate trouble and anticipate what is going to happen if that happens, right? Um, so that's what made me really good at my job. But what happens when you can't turn that off?
You
You
know what
know,
I love what you've shared too is the stress factor of, of course, getting in that water, and you have to build up to that. But that breathing, that is so critical, is something, it becomes like a learned skill that you take into the stress moments of your life. Because if you can learn how to breathe properly while you're in that cold water, you take it into stress moments in life, and you're just really empowering yourself to do better.
you are, and it's like such a transferable skill, because it helps you there. But it also, I used to get very aggravated when my car would go into that eco sense mode, like at a stoplight, where
Uh-huh.
it reminded me of my first two cars, where I had to keep my foot on the gas and the brake at the same time so my car wouldn't die, and just like really aggravate. And now, instead of that, I just reframed it. And instead of being aggravated, I just use that time to breathe. Like, that's my minute and a half of focused, intentional breath.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not really taught how to breathe. We don't learn it in school. As a parent, I didn't teach my kids how to breathe, because I never gave it any thought.
We
I
didn't.
really no,
We
no.
didn't.
I do now, and it's so helpful, because when you learn how to breathe and you slow down your heart and you become more intentional and focused, and learn not think, but to, instead of getting indoctrinated into a thought, just learn how to observe the thought without judgment and just let it go. And
Right.
I am not a great meditator. I like I think people who, have meditated for 20 years and can go to that nirvanic empty space on their own, I think that's just marvelous. I will never be that person. I will never be able to sit still for an extended period of time. It's not my nature, but
Mm-hmm.
I can do that in cold water. I can be there for 2 or 3 minutes in that quietness, in that spaciousness of my mind, and let just just be. And that
It's
changed
so good.
everything.
It's
Oh, it
so
was huge.
good.
It
I
was
have this
huge.
quote from Mr. Wim Hof that I thought I would introduce here. And he says, if we always choose comfort, we never learn the deepest capabilities of our mind or our body. And so that's what I'm hearing you say, Cindy. First of all, Dion experienced a medical healing just with cold water. And what you were sharing earlier, what was so critical was the temperature. And that was one of the things that I'm so glad that you brought out, because it's not just cold water. I mean, it is a specific temperature that our body can reap the benefits of. And then again, what you've shared about breathing, how much we can lean into that and bring that into daily life that helps us with our own anxiety and stress. And so, for the sake of those that are listening, you said Dion was getting better, and then you went to a place where the temperature of the water was different, and so it was not impacting his body in the way that it needed. So, did you eventually go back to the medical field and share with them the results, or did you just carry on with life?
So MD Anderson follows Dion's progress, although he's had zero of their meds. We used to go every 3 months. Now we go every six. They have no idea what to do with him, nor, they're really not interested in treatment that's different than what they offer. And I do believe that everybody has to make that decision for themselves. They have to
Absolutely.
figure out what works for them, because,
Mhm.
in our search and in that weekend that we had 3 days to figure it out. And we do go to MD Anderson. We are happy that they track his progress and keep a record on him, but we're also very happy that we're doing it our way, because um, people have abdicated a lot of our power, and a lot of our personal knowing, our own intuition, and really connecting to our core. And what I want to say about breath is that when you have when you get control of your breath, that increases your heart brain coherence. And that coherence to the center of our heart is the center of our soul. And that is something that so often when you lose, we have it as a child, but as time moves on and stories are told and life goes on and we fit different roles that we're categorized in different ways, and then we start telling those stories to ourselves, we forget that part of who we are. And
Mhm.
that deep intuition and that deep knowing, I believe, is the only thing that's going to keep us connected and safe as humanity transitions into what's next with the advent of AI and all of these things that are happening at such rapid speed, unlike any time in history ever before the times that we're living right now. I
Yes.
do believe that that connection to soul and source that is on board, it's always been with us, that it is who we are, the connection to who we truly are, to the divinity that lives within each of us, and the connection to source, which in my mind is God. How
Mhm.
we get there and how we maintain that is vital to what's next, to how we live in this world.
Absolutely. And just listening to your story in the beginning, with Dion having the dreams, I just believe God divinely leads us in different ways. And so through that dream, you paid attention and you decided to step into that dream and you found the answer. And that's what I love. We can do things holistically, like you did. And I always love that. And then there's other times where God uses doctors, and MD Anderson does wonderful things for other people, but to always go back to the core of what's in your heart to do for your health and to listen to your body and to maybe just trust what you're being told. And so I just celebrate the fact that, first of all, you chose January, the coldest month of the year, to start doing cold
Right.
baths. I mean, right
Yeah.
there, took my breath away. I was like, geez, I think I would have waited till June. But you didn't have that time.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just jumped in and you were committed. And I think that's one of the things when we're in transition, when we are fighting for something that we know is in front of us and we want to get to the other side. It takes tenacity, it takes courage. And even when you maybe in the beginning we don't see results right away, but you know in your core this is what we need to do. Why it's still important to keep moving forward. And I just think it's really powerful, the cold baths. My son, Jonathan, you know Jonathan,
Yeah.
he totally believes in this. Has one in his garage with a sauna, and
Yeah.
whenever he comes visit here, even like in the winter months, he's like, "Come on, mom, get in the pool with me," and it's
Yeah.
like he's always like pulling me in, and it's not easy. I mean, I've done it myself, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is cold. But I've watched him do the breathing, and I've literally watched some of the aches and pains that I would have in my body dissipate, like
Yeah.
lessen as a result of the
Yeah.
cold. So some of the benefits I would love for you to share with the audience. I know it's, you know, our muscles, it strengthens our immune system. I believe you may have touched on the mental clarity we get because of that cortex part of our brain that's being strengthened and enlarged. What are some of the other benefits, or are any of those that you'd like to touch on?
Well, I will say when we started doing this, it was the simplicity of it. And
Mm-hmm.
it reminds me of the Bible story of the like dipping in the River Jordan 7 times.
Yeah.
Like it was so simple, so available, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just the doingness of it. That that I think that act of faith of just doing it was really, really big for us. Inflammation is
Yeah.
the kickstarter of just about everything. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, a lot of mental health issues, Alzheimer's, cancers, it's inflammation. And when
That's
you get in
true.
really, it is, it is. I don't know if you've read Casey Means' book called Good
No.
Energy. Well, that's an excellent, excellent book. That was probably my favorite book I read last year. And I
Okay.
bought 5 copies and like all my kids have one, right?
Great.
Um, yes. And there's some really great blood tests in that book and there's some great information. At any rate, inflammation is the kickstarter and it is an early tell of what's in your future. And when you get in cold water, when you do that deliberate taxing, that reduces inflammation all through the body. So when you go from extreme cold to extreme heat, and and we use infrared saunas in our space, what you're doing is all your blood goes to your vital organs when you're in the cold, and then when you get in the heat, it pushes to your extremities. So you're getting that push pull. So it's the equivalent of a very passive cardiovascular workout. And in the process of doing this, I've lost about 40 pounds from that. And I
Oh,
don't play tennis, I don't play pickleball. Lady, I mean, this is what I did. That's how I have been able to maintain my weight without a lot of effort. Also, it's that thing where you're stacking effort. So I'm doing something good for my body. It's not taxing. It's not like running, or we have a lot of pickleball players that are injured. They come here for recovery and rehab. And I'm like, well, I don't have any of that because, this is what I do. This is my exercise.
well,
Um,
I have to go back to the weight loss because literally
yeah,
watched your transformation on your videos.
yeah.
I have two questions. What is the temperature that the sauna needs to be? Because you're going from the extreme cold. So, what is the temperature for the sauna for the heat part of it? And how did that help you lose weight? I don't understand. I would love to know that.
Okay. The temperature of our saunas, they say they go to 175, but I think about 165 is probably the max that we get to. And
Okay.
they're infrared. So they're heating instead of being like an ambient heat sauna,
Okay.
that has a burner. Okay. So that's where the air is warm around you. This is heating us from the inside out. What I like about that is, number one, everybody looks better in a red light glow. So if you're in your swimsuit in the sauna with other people, like, I'm all about that. Also, it gets rid of non-oil soluble toxins, which is great. And then it's not so hard on our hair. So I usually put my hair in a hat and maybe put oil in it. But as often as I do it, if when I was in a dry sauna doing it that way, it was really hard on my hair.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of benefits. So about 165 is the temperature.
Okay.
And the process that we do here, because of what we had learned by doing this several different places, and we've actually gone to 8 different countries. We went on a world tour last year, experiencing sauna culture all over the world, and learned a lot of things about that. Um, but the biggest thing that we learned is that it's sauna community, about having a place where it's a place where you have this team lift of doing something really hard together and being vulnerable together and supporting each other together in community. That is, it enlivens this part of each of us that we do want to help each other. And loneliness is such an epidemic thing that's happening in our
Yes.
world
Mm-hmm.
that it's really a big deal. So I want to go back to that. I want to answer the rest of your question
Sure.
about the weight loss. But um, so when you do these two things, you contrast. And in our process, we do this 3 times. So we start with breath. We do cold first because it's hard. That's the hardest way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do hard things, that's so translatable in your world. Very often, our plunge time is at 6 a.m. So not only is it early, and
Oh
it's
my
cold
gosh.
and it's hard, and so that's a really great frame for the day, because and I've
Yes.
already done something hard. Like, okay, what else you got? Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
because I've already set the tone of my day that this is just what I do. And it releases the superpower. I now consider myself dangerously courageous, because I say yes to things that are terrifying to me, because I have this ability to show up now because I'm braver than I've ever been. And that means that could be braver in taking a risk about reaching out in a relationship, or trying a new thing, or maybe doing something that I've failed at before in the past, or asking for forgiveness. Like, it softened my heart to get rid of um, ego and fear. I mean, it's like a whole new day for me. It's been so 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 good for me.
So
So, like, not
beautiful.
only thank you. Not
That's
only did
so
I lose,
beautiful. Yeah.
that's a big deal. And not only did I lose the extra pounds, I lost the extra baggage, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the ways, because of this next level soul connection that was now available to me. This is how I broke up with alcohol, which is something that was really a part of my life, and had a bigger role in my life than I really wanted to admit. It was like a daily thing that I did. And I think that happens to a lot of women
Mm-hmm.
that are in high stress jobs, that are successful, that have that in my business culture and in construction and design, that's just culturally like something that we do. Happy hour is a big thing. It's very alcohol centric. Our lifestyle revolves around alcohol. Also, many of my friend groups that, again, played a major role in that. And it wasn't serving me.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, it wasn't serving me with the calories because it's all sugar, right?
Right. Right.
And secondarily, it it was messing with my sleep. And I can show you pictures of, in just a very short period of time, like inflammation leaving my body. I was like all puffy and swollen, and my neck was always red, and couldn't really figure out what was going on. And when I quit drinking, I was like, oh, it was that, you know? And I'm really so glad I left that behind, because it gave me so much more freedom, to connect to other things, like other parts of me that I didn't have access to. And, everybody's on their own journey. I'm not preaching to anybody. Please, I'm not on a sober soapbox. I, I think it's just that if you're considering something that's not working and you want a change, what happened to us in a roundabout way through leukemia, through a tragedy, kickstarted a bunch of other stuff that wouldn't have happened. So so sometimes just looking at something and saying, okay, okay, what is the gift in this? Because I promise you, there's always a gift in conflict, always a gift. And it's how we look at that gift and how we perceive it, and giving ourselves the space to see, what else could this be? What else could this mean? And it opened up just this world of possibility that I would not have had access to. And so I'm so grateful.
Oh, no, that's so powerful because truly, 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 when conflict comes, it can knock us down, it could knock us over. But within that conflict is a message. Within that conflict is an answer. Sometimes it is causing us to look at ourselves, right? What is it that
Yeah.
needs to change about me? And it's a process. And then I love how you share that because you do discover something new. That's why I love to call this the Transition Bridge Podcast, because I always share with people transitions are the bridges in life that take us from where we currently are to the new season or new direction. But you have to go across the bridge. And when you get in the middle, this is lots of times we are confronted with conflict and our own emotions and our own mindsets that need to be changed. But if we will embrace that and allow ourselves to be transformed, we get to the other side. In health, our emotions, we're leaving the emotional baggage behind. We're coming into that new place a different person. And there's something there for us to discover. I always share that on the other side of the bridge are the people you are supposed to meet for that next season in your life. And you won't meet them until you get across the bridge because they're in that next season. And that's what I see with you and Dion, Cindy, is not only have you met new people, you've started a whole new business that is literally changing people's lives. And I just celebrate the victory that you have found in this, both in your health, emotionally, mentally, that now you, because you have walked the tough path, you have walked through this really tough journey, you've come out on the other side with so much good news, with so much hope, with so much inspiration for others to do the hard things. And I would love for you, and I just celebrate all of that. I think it's amazing. And for anybody who comes to your salon, and I love that you touched on the isolation because we're all so isolated anymore and we forgot the power of community. So is your salon all about the community effect of people coming together, doing cold plunge together? Tell us more about your salon.
So our lounge is a place of really big time gathering. So there's we've, like I had mentioned before, we were in A's last year, experimenting, learning from different groups of people, largely in Scandinavia, and seeing, this is not new information. Sauna and cold water and sauna is, it's 2,000 years old, probably
Right.
older, right? Countries use it, people use it. It's what I really loved in Scandinavia. We were in Estonia, and there was a resort that we were at, and it was multi-generational. And we were in this beautiful salt room, this breathing room, and there were little kid toys, like beach toys in the corner. You bring children there, and they had saunas that weren't so hot and water that wasn't so cold for very young people and older people, like great grandparents. So families were there together, and that was just it was just a beautiful experience. And we were in another sauna in Sweden where there was a LinkedIn exec. He says he does all of his meetings here in the sauna because, number one, your tech doesn't work in the sauna, so no cell phones, no action.
Hmm.
It was unique because you're in the state of heart mind coherence, because you've breathed to be able to handle the cold water. You're also in parasympathetic, so you're in rest, digest, repair. So you're in a better emotional state to share and to connect and to be vulnerable together. So really, those, like, have a meeting of the heart, and then you're doing something good for yourself, and it's also unique. And like, who has time for dinner anymore, right? And so, like, you're stacking your wellness with your meetings. It's like all these things. So and then we've been in a lot of places where the cold plunge was just in a room, and it was really clinical looking, and the lights were kind of blue and fluorescent-y, and that felt icky because, my interior designer mind is like, oh no, 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 like, I need to be seen in the best light, right? Like, I want this to be at least feel warm. It's not warm, but I want to at least have this sensation of what warmth feels like. So and then when we were early doing this, when Dion was so sick, we were going to a like calisthenics gym. It's the only place I could find to do it. And their plunge tubs were in the middle, and then their sauna was right by it. And there were actually guys that, members of the gym, that would help me lift him in and out of the water. Then
Oh,
I'd rub him off and warm him up. And it was like what they were doing for us, just energetically, like hoping for us, and giving us encouragement in what we were doing, and like cheering us on. That was big.
yeah.
And so that's why our space is open, and we have a new plunge tub on the way that holds 12 people.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
amazing. It's really good, and it's really cold. The water's right at 41 degrees, and there's hydrogen in the water. It's salt water, and it also has sound frequency. And
Oh, wow.
it's a big deal.
That's
It's a
huge.
really big deal. It's huge because when you get in cold water, it's like hitting Control Alt Delete on your computer. Your body is like you're in a state of shock. So
I know.
your subconscious mind is like, wait, what just happened? Like, and so you have that little gap when you just hit the water, and you're right. You have that breath. Okay, so you're free. The body gets the green light to do what the body does, but what you get to do is you get to set your intentions. You get to reprogram. You get to call the shots. So whether that's leaving behind procrastination, or letting go of a story that keeps rolling in your head that doesn't serve you, or about an insecurity or a jealousy or something inside of you that you're ready to let go of, you can let go of it right then, right there, and it's instant. Like, you have the power to make big change in your life. And it's not 5, 10 years of therapy. You get to decide. That's the level of healing that this offers. Not only physical, but
Mhm.
emotional, mental, and I will say at the spiritual level. And our world is struggling at the spiritual level. That soul connection, that heart resonance that we have inside of each of us, it's not
Mhm.
out there. Everything we need has been with us the whole time.
Yes.
We just have to have access to it. And doing something hard is one way to gain access to that part.
It is so true. I mean, our hearts, we were created for connection. We were
Yeah,
created to, you know me, I'm big on the power of words.
yeah,
We are created to literally encourage one another. And I can see that happening in your lounge where people come and they may be struggling that day. It may be really difficult, but the community there is probably saying, "Come on, you can do it. Hang in there."
yeah,
And at the same time, our emotions affect our physical well-being. And so if we can get
completely.
to that place where we are emotionally healed, that's why I don't have my clients in cold plunges, but that's my passion is to help women, with the emotions, with the mental mindsets, the limiting beliefs. These are the very things that affect our physical body. And now I know I can send them to your lounge, for
Yeah, well,
further
and you
further
can too.
breakthrough.
You can come too, Debbie. We can
I
do.
know.
We can just get you on. get the camera rolling on you.
We'll
Yeah,
do that. That would be a
I
fun
would
thing
love
to
that.
do
I
because
would love
I've
that.
done I haven't done it every day, but I have done it and I know it's difficult and it's hard, but there's something in your head that says, I did it. I overcame. And it does empower you to look at other things and they become smaller when you do the difficult. And so,
Yeah.
Cindy, I have just loved everything that you've shared. And I just know for anyone who's been thinking about, is it really worth it? Does it have benefits? Why do I need to do this? Or someone who's just struggling physically with their body right now, how would you encourage them today?
I would tell you that you're stronger than you know,
Mm.
that it's not outside of you, it's inside of you. And that when you find that, when you just touch that the the tippy part of who you truly are, it opens up so many more possibilities. And you are here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. You're necessary. And it is, you are at the right place at the right time in your life, no matter what you're struggling with, no matter what you feel like you failed at in the past. None of that matters because it has made you who you are today. And who you are today is on the precipice of something tremendous. And whatever you can do to get to that next level, do it. Risk it, get uncomfortable, learn to be comfortable in discomfort. And cold water was my path. And I don't know what yours is, but this is very available because anybody can take a cold shower. Anybody can learn to breathe. And you got this.
That's beautiful, Cindy. And it's so true. Sometimes it's the simple things like you shared. Anyone could take a cold shower, anyone could take a cold bath. And to know that something in nature is so powerful for us to reap the benefits of. The creation of water has so much within it that if we can learn to understand it, to use it, and as Cindy shared, this is something old, well over 2,000 years old, that other parts of the world have used just as part of generational family being together. And it's something new for all of us to adopt because I believe as we step into new seasons, latter seasons of our life, we want to live in fullness with vitality because we're not called to shrink back. We're not called to go small. We're called each and every day to go bigger, to go stronger. And I believe like for me, that's God leading, God
Yeah.
leading me, God leading Cindy, God leading you to the next thing He has planned for you. And God doesn't go small, He goes big. And He has so much planned and prepared for you. As Cindy shared, there is a divine reason that you are here on this earth. So don't let whatever it is that you are experiencing right now define you. It's not who you are, it's just what you're going through. And there's so much breakthrough waiting for you. And so I would say if you are in that area, go find the lounge, the Loyly Sauna Lounge, and go check it out. I think you're going to see me on video soon because
I'll
I'm
be
going
so
to have to
excited.
go down there because now I spoke it. Now I have to do it.
You
But
have to.
yeah, but Cindy, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've learned so much, and I know you've awakened a lot of curiosity about this very topic.
Yeah, well, it's so good to be with you, Debbie. I'm so proud of you. I remember when Michael, your husband, saying, when Debbie turned 50, like his whole world changed. Like you, like, like the old Debbie, like the Debbie 5.0, now probably Debbie 6.0, like I'm Cindy 6.0, right? Like you were saying
Right.
two, I'm like, no, we're way beyond that. Like it's when you show up for who you are and what's possible and what you came here to do, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you, my friend. I'll tell you, we both have been on the journey, haven't we?
For sure. for sure.
Oh,
Well, I hope to see you very soon.
okay. I'll
And
have
thanks
to
for
give.
having me.
Oh, of course. This has been fabulous. And I want to thank my transition tribe as you come in each and every week to discover more about transition. And I know today you learned that even in the midst of a loss of health, that kind of transition is difficult to navigate. But within that loss, there's something to be found. And I do hope and pray that today you've been inspired to embrace the transition that you're walking in. Don't be afraid of the transition that is yet to come, because within each and every one of them is a purpose and a power for your life.